Well, we had a little bit of a late start tonight. Had a little bit of technical difficulty, but I think we got it fixed now. This is Politics and Preppers podcast at TalkShoe.com, Saturday nights, 10 p.m. Central. And Al's with me tonight. Mike's working. And Al would just tell me about a friend of his dad's or an acquaintance of his dad's has gone all out with getting prepared for stuff. Why don't you just give an example of what this guy's doing?
Well, he basically lives in the country. What I understand, he's got like 5 years of food stored up. He's got solar and wind power running. He's not quite off the grid yet, but he's working at it. And I think he said he had like a couple of 1,000-gallon tanks buried for fresh water on his property. Plenty of ammo. So he's prepared for whatever happens.
Well,
zombies.
Yeah, for the zombies. I've always said once you start, you never stop. And I don't know if this is probably not the right word, because I don't make fun of the people that get really, prepared for, 10 years of food for 20 people kind of thing. But, if that's what makes them feel better, that's okay. I'm not there yet,
No.
And I might be someday. I don't know. It just kind of depends on how things go. But I think once you start, you just don't stop, because even if you get to the point where you want to be, you'll start rotating food out if you're not already. Like my plan is a lot of what stuff I have is stuff we already use, and I just stock up extra and I rotate it out as we go.
Yeah.
None of us are prepared like Jim. None of this group. And he's even went down to Houston yesterday and picked up one of those big shipping containers. And he's not building it for himself, though. He's going to build it because he's a fabricator, he's a welder, mechanic, machinist, retired. And he's going to build one and sell it, and then go back and get two. If they can, and I think after that, he's going to take orders after that.
Building what?
The shelters.
Oh, okay.
With all the stuff in it, little stove, water, filters, beds, food, all that. But he wants to build that so he can make some extra money to get even more prepared.
Now, are these to be buried? Or?
Yeah, I think the first one's going to be above the ground, but after that, he's going to take orders. And if you want it underground, he'll build it, but you'll have to find somebody else to bury it, because he's not in the business of that. He can build them, but he doesn't have the equipment to go out, dig holes and bury them. But if he decides he really wants to get it done, he'll get it done, because I'm sure he wants to, because he wouldn't pick the dang thing up yesterday. But when he got it home, it cost him $8,000 extra. He got the thing home, and the gooseneck cracked the front end off of it, the whole front end off the trailer, and came crashing down to the bed, tore the bed up. So it's about $8,000 worth of repairs right there.
Wait a minute, the container broke?
The trailer that he added on.
Oh, wow.
The gooseneck. That whole front end of the gooseneck, broke off.
Oh, man.
And I've seen that before. You've got to inspect those things, and I guess since he doesn't use it that often, he didn't think about inspecting it again. But you got to inspect those things, because we have we have to we usually get one or two every few years. We have to rebuild that whole front end, because those welds fatigue with all that weight on them. They start to crack after a while.
Now, what size container did he get?
He told me, and I'm not sure what size it was. I don't think it was the real long one, though, because that gooseneck, I don't think it handled one of the bigger ones. So I'm thinking 20 foot long.
Yeah.
I think that's what he said.
So like 20 by right at around 9 feet wide.
Yeah, something like that. You'd probably know more about that than I would. You've been in the business.
Yeah. Did he get a good deal on the container?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had to go down to Houston to get it. And I think he got it for $1,500.
Yeah.
And you can't get one around here for that price.
No, the further inland you get, the more they're going to be.
Yeah, because you got to pay for the shipping and getting them up here and everything. So, but he has the resources to go do that kind of thing. So, hopefully he won't invite me to come out and help him because I don't want to work on it.
Well, he's got to buy another gooseneck.
Well, he can repair that one.
Yeah. Well, I did buy a bug-out vehicle.
The new one last week?
Yep. Actually, it's kind of strange. It was actually my wife's idea. Now, she don't know it's a bug-out vehicle, but...
You don't have to call it a bug-out vehicle.
No. But it was actually a spur-of-the-moment deal. We had kind of talked a little bit about getting a pickup, and we were coming home from my son's, who has a pickup, but we were coming home from his house, and she says, why don't you go up there and see what kind of deals they got going on the pickup since it's, the end of the year, and maybe they got some deals left over, and so I went up there, and sure enough, I got a pretty sweet deal on a Nissan Frontier, 4-door, and I really like it. My son already had one, so that's one of the reasons she was telling me to go and check that one out. And I have a Nissan car, so.
Well, I don't have anything against them. I've never owned one, but I don't have anything against them. I know I like Toyotas. I like buying American, but
yeah,
I hate buying union shit too. So,
yeah. Well, I've got my car I've had it for almost 2 years, had absolutely no problems with it at all. And it's still as good as it was the day I got it.
Well, I had a Toyota pickup for freaking 15, 18 years, whatever it was.
Yeah.
The odometer, I know I had above 200,000 and probably above 300,000, but somewhere close to 200,000, the odometer went out. So, and I kept it for years after that.
Yep.
And I had a few repairs on it, like the transmission. This was 4-wheel drive and everything, but they had one little flaw in there, and at about 130 to 140,000 miles, they have a bearing that goes out in them. And then once you rebuild it, and it was a standard, so it's not as expensive as rebuilding an automatic. But once you rebuild them and put the updated heavier duty bearing in there, then transmission will last for a long time after that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't complain about it. I took that thing to places I never thought it would go. And it got me out of some tight spots, too.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about maybe going back to one of those because, you can put, and I got to check up on this because Jim was telling me he was thinking that some of the older vehicles won't be affected. You don't have to protect them from solar flares or anything.
Yeah, I think it's...
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if those alternator wires will handle it. I guess it depends on if it's a blast. If it's real close, it might.
Yeah.
But you could also, I was looking at, we were talking about those wood reactors that you can, run generators and stuff on. There's several people that have built them in the back of their trucks so they could run their motors off of that. And I was looking at that, and man, that's a big project. That's a lot of welding, a lot of fabricating. But I guess if you had the resources down the road, you had all that stuff sitting there, you could do it down the road if you had power, to run a welder or something.
What is this, a wood? You're turning wood into what?
Into a gas. You get oil off of it as a byproduct and several different chemicals, but as the smoke comes off in the reactor, it's a wood reactor chamber, you run it through like a condenser, but you use like just pipes. Like this guy, when I was looking at, he might make side rails and stuff for the truck, but up a little ways, and he designed it to kind of cage the bed in a little bit, but he used that for his his condenser, where it cools that gas down a little bit, so you can be used to burn in the motor. And several people have done it. I saw it on the show several years back, and it's an old technology. It's been done before years and years ago, but it was very interesting, but it's a heck of a project to undertake. And there's a lot to it, adjusting the airflows. The one guy I saw, I haven't checked the other videos, the one guy I saw, he had a hard time keeping the RPMs down, which I guess is not really important if you're just using it, maybe to run in and pick up supplies if the situation is where you can get supplies, or if you're just using it around the farm or the ranch or something to work around the ranch. I guess it would be okay then. I think it would probably be easier to go some of the other ways. There's other ways to do it. You can make your own alcohol. You could, methane production, hydrogen. Of course, I like the hydrogen thing, but it's kind of spooky. Stuff's dangerous. It's so easy to produce. Go ahead.
Yeah, the ideal way to do the hydrogen is hydrogen on demand.
Yeah. And I looked into a lot of that too, and it just looks like it took a lot of energy to run it in the first place. So I think as far as being an efficient way of saving money, it's probably not that efficient, but for an emergency. And if you built one big enough, you could probably run it. I know you could run a vehicle off of it by itself. But off the hydrogen. But if you built a big enough one to produce that, and don't take my word for this because I'm not sure about this. It looks like it would take a fairly good size one to be able to run a 4-cylinder, 6 or 8-cylinder totally off that. And it would take a lot of amperage to do that. So, but it could be done,
Yeah.
In an emergency situation, when zombies are after you or something, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
Now, that last week, you said there was something you wanted to talk about, and since you didn't get to be on, but you wanted to say something. Do you remember what that was? Because I don't remember either. Well, anyway, while you're thinking about that, I think I mentioned on the show last week that I had, and you weren't on, so I'm going to restate it for you. But anyway, I rethought part of my water storage plan. Because, I told you I've got a well out back, and it's only about 40 feet deep. And I've got pumps that run off a 12-volt or 110 or 220 that I could put in there and pump it out. But back in the late 90s, we had 2 big floods down here. And it was only inches away from flooding that well out. So I decided to rethink how much water I had stored. Now, even if it flooded it out, I could still take my filters and filter it. But if it didn't cost me that much. I think I spent an extra $20, $25 to get 2 55-gallon drums. And then I picked up some 4 35-gallon drums, but those 35s are for fuel. And I think I'm going to use one of them for a vertical wind generator. Use those for the fins because I was looking at that and I might try that. So anyway, I rethought that because I decided I'm going to have extra water. I'm going to have at least 100 gallons stored away, which I'll have at least that now. And then I can come back and use the filter if I need to. And, we can still catch it off the roof or something if I need to do that and run that through the filters.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly don't hurt to have more than one source of water.
Yeah, I just turned those 2 55-gallon drums. I had an old door. It was in the house years ago, and it was a fairly skinny door, like a closet door, but it's, a pretty strong door. It's in one of the older ones. So I took the 2 55-gallon drums, cleaned down there in my garage, and put that door on top of it and used it for a workbench. So it's a functional thing. And then I got some other containers, a bunch of smaller containers for, food storage, for rice and beans and things like that. And I just stuck them underneath there out of the way. So kind of consolidated some of this clutter that was sitting around that I wasn't real sure how I was going to pack away some of this stuff. So that worked out good. But I have been looking into the wind power, solar power, and stuff. And again, I really didn't get much more information than I talked about last week. No matter how I see it, it's going to be expensive. I can't find used batteries that I could recondition. Every place I've checked, they've already got a contract with somebody, and they don't want to, they get $10-15 back off the battery, depending on the size, and they don't want to deviate from that because I was going to try to get some batteries cheaper. So I'm going to keep looking. Maybe I can find something on Craigslist or something down the road. But I want to start getting the batteries because I've got my generator. And if I get my battery system put together, or at least a fairly decent one, I don't have to get the whole thing. At least I can use the electric power from the house to put a charger on it, put a trickle charge on it, keep them charged up. In an emergency, they'll already be charged up, and then I got the generator to recharge them if I need to, and then I can add the solar and wind down the road as I do these projects. But, everything just costs a bunch of money when you start looking at into detail, the wire you need, the batteries, the chargers, the converters, inverters.
You think it's a big demand on all that stuff?
No. I know that the inverters, the one we were talking about is the something tie inverter. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Yeah, the grid.
Yeah, grid tie inverter. Those came way down from when I first started looking at them. But it seems like the regular inverters, like you would use in your truck or something. You've had one in your big truck at one time or another, and you may still have one. Those, when you start to get up to, I was looking at 2,000 watt ones. Those start to get expensive.
Yeah. What how big?
$200 range or more, depending on the brand and what they've got going for them.
They're how much?
$200 or more, depending on what brand you get and what quality you get, and some have different features with them, for protection modes and different things.
Right.
So you can just, you can start going from way up there, and 2,000 watts isn't a lot, but for an emergency, you can get your refrigerator and maybe a small window unit or something, going, and that's the main thing you want with a little bit of light, and you don't have to run a refrigerator or freezer all the time. You can run them for a few hours a day and stay out of them, and you can probably get by for a while. Or if it's really cold weather, you could run a heater off of it, if you don't already have some kind of backup heater that runs off of propane or something, which I finally found my other 3 propane tanks. I knew they were out there in that pile someplace. They were buried in the back of some crap wood I had. But I don't really like them. I like them for cooking. I don't really like them for heating because, you run into some situations there, you can kill everybody if you don't keep the place ventilated well enough. And it's easy to do because you can't smell it.
Yeah.
But if you ventilate it and you take your precautions, you're okay. But I just like to stay away from that if I can. And I do have this house has an old wall unit that's natural gas, and I think I could refurbish that and put new jets in it for propane instead of natural gas. And that's already vented. Still got the vents hooked up to it, so I could probably repurpose that. And that would be good because I could close off the front of the house and I could heat the back of the house. Which, that's where the refrigerator and that's where most of the stuff is that we would need anyway. Because this house really closes up. You can really isolate different parts of this house fairly easily. I could knock off about half the house and still have one bathroom available and the kitchen, and a place to sleep, and the food storage area. So, always thinking about different ways to do it, different ideas, because you never know what's going to happen. And as you go, you get more equipment and you build up things, and you can change your plan and make it work better. But I still don't believe in these big generators. It just takes way too much fuel.
Yeah.
If you've got a big generator and you're just going to run 3 days, you got plenty of fuel put aside. That's okay. But you start talking about a week or two or a month, you better have a big pocket and a big storage area for the fuel.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember what it was from last week that you mentioned, but that's okay.
Yeah, I can't either. Unless it was getting methane gas out of the sewer lines.
I bet that was it.
Yeah. We're thinking about going in through on the outside. You could actually go in.
Yeah, I had mentioned drilling into the manhole cover out back, and then when we talked again, you'd mentioned, well, couldn't you tap into, closer to your house?
Right.
And I figured out while we were talking today, yes, I actually could, because I've got a clean out that I put in a few years ago. And I could just drill a hole in that lid and put it there. And that might be it, because that whole line runs downhill to the sewer. So it would be feeding the gas back up. Of course, I don't know how much gas is in there. They may vent those lines these days. Back then, when I was telling you the story where I blew up that street, all the way down the street with the manhole covers.
Yeah.
They weren't vented because all the holes had been closed up from the asphalt. But they may be venting them, even though now that they're tying them, they're screwing them down and they're covering them up where you can't even see them. At least in this area, they may have vent them every certain amount of feet down the road. So they may not have any gas left in them. I don't know, but it was a thought. I thought it was an interesting thought. That would be kind of cool if you found out that worked.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be
if it was enough gas in there to run a small generator.
Oh yeah.
You'd have it made. And I may have to check into that. It might be an interesting little thing. And I don't know of anybody that I could ask that would know whether they vent them or not. I mean, I know where I could find somebody that would know, but I don't know about anybody there. Probably just go down the street, little ways to the City Works, and ask them. Well, not much in the politics side of things have happened this week. Same shit. We still got what is it, Susan Rice?
Yeah.
Going, and we know they're going to cover up what happened over there. If there's any way possible, they're going to get it covered up. We're never going to know what happened. So there may be 20, 30, 40 years down the road, maybe.
If then.
Yeah, if then. I still think it's fishy. I think it's probably going to, if truth be known, I think it would be one of the biggest scandals ever.
Yeah.
And they're not going to let that come out with, against their God, their Savior.
No.
You heard about a bunch of that going on this past week?
Oh, yeah.
God, ridiculous. They're just asking for trouble, putting somebody that high on a totem pole. And I just don't understand it. How could you be so freaking stupid? But, a lot of people don't pay attention to history. And a lot of people they just don't think.
No. No.
And I haven't heard anything about Texas secession lately.
Well, Ron Paul, I heard a little bit from him. He's more so in, not so much in the succession, but just nullifying. And I was listening to a guy last night on
contract thing we were talking about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a guy on on rule of law radio.
Yeah.
And the government, the first time they broke the first time they passed a law that violated the Constitution, there's no binding. They cannot bind anybody to the Constitution. In other words, if a state wants to leave, they have no way of binding them to, stopping them from succeeding. And to give you an example of what they've done to break the Constitution, just Article 10, Section 1 states that the monetary system shall be based on gold and silver, and so they have gotten away from that.
Yeah,
and
that's just one thing. But let me check something here. Who decides if the Constitution's been broken? The state that wants to secede?
Well, yeah.
The Supreme Court screwed.
Well, what they were talking about on this program is dissolving the federal government. The states can dissolve the federal government. And Ron Paul, that's what Ron Paul is coming out with. They're talking about, you get enough, I guess it would have to be a majority of the states or what, but anyway, they're talking about basically dissolving the federal government, because the federal government has violated the Constitution, and any single violation of the Constitution has made it null and void, and so they can't be bound to it. And what they're talking about doing is basically just reforming the federal government. And in order for a state to join that new union, if you will, they would have to purge also their laws, any law that they have that violates the Constitution. And I know the states aren't near as bad as the federal government, but they still...
Well, they still got problems. We know that.
They still have some problems.
Even Texas, we're bad off. We're not, after checking into things deeper the last few years, we're a whole lot worse than I thought.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that was on the news this last week was that the open carry in Texas is one of the first bills on the legislation for January.
I still don't think they'll have the guts to do it, but I hope they do.
Well, what they were saying is they're pointing at Oklahoma. They're saying, Oklahoma's done it. It's time for us to do it.
I think so. But let me get back to something real quick. Let me throw a scenario at you about what we were talking about a while ago. And I kind of mentioned already, but all right, say Texas wants to say that the federal government's broken the contract by doing something unconstitutional. Now, does Texas just say, okay, you broke the Constitution, and we're going to secede, for lack of a better word? I don't know if you want to call it that or not, but just for this discussion, I'll use that word. They say, okay, you broke the Constitution, contract's null and void, we're leaving the Union. Now, is it just up to them? I'm wondering, or do they have to look at one of the courts or something to say, yeah, you're right, they broke the contract?
No, I don't believe that. What they're talking about doing, you got to remember, the government is by the people. It's a government of the people.
Right.
So what?
But the government, the U.S. government, the federal government would say, no, we didn't.
Oh well, it's too blatant. You can't. I mean, it's blatant. I heard about 15 different examples that are obvious. That the 10th Amendment, Article 10, Section 1, where they have to, where the money has to be based on gold and silver. It shall be based on gold and silver. Well, the fact that there's a Federal Reserve System violates the Constitution. The fact that the government has created all these different agencies without any constitutional authority is a violation of the Constitution. So there's no way they can deny it.
And like the IRS?
Yep. Well, even believe it or not, I mean, even the FBI there's no constitutional authority for the FBI. There's all of the all the EPA,
well, they're not protecting the borders.
No,
all kinds of crap.
Right. So there's no denying it, and all it will take is enough states to get together, which is what Ron Paul's trying to do, and what they want to do is dissolve the federal government and basically create a new union.
Yeah, that's interesting how they'd go about that, because they would scare the hell out of people. How much the left would be scared, lying, cheating, doing anything they couldn't, like they already do, to scare enough people, and they're not doing that.
Well,
you're all going to starve to death because you're not going to be able to get this. They just want to kill all you poor people because they're not going to feed you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see it happening. I think the only way, I think it's going to happen a more radical way where, now I do know that Brzezinski spoke to the Bilderbergs I think it's 2 weeks ago now, and he warned them that the New World Order was in trouble because the public was more politically awake than ever in the history of man.
I say, and that scares me because it might push them into doing something stupid.
Well, that's what everybody's saying. That,
but we got to keep putting the word out because people have to know about this. Because the end result is bad, really bad.
Yeah, and people are waking up more. They're waking up, and that's what they're afraid of, and that's what they're talking about is as people wake up. Then you had that Congressman Hank Johnson from Georgia, the guy that thinks islands float.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that idiot.
Well, he's got a new. He's proposing an amendment to the Constitution that restricts corporate speech.
Oh, doesn't doubt me a bit. The left loves to tell people they can't talk unless they agree with him. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's trying to do it to corporations, but then, it's just a hop and a skip to do it to people. But I mean, they're they pass these laws, or they try to pass laws that are blatant. Any law that's repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. I mean, so you can pass all the laws they want, but the Supreme Court has ruled, I think it was in 1870 something, that any law that's repugnant to the Constitution is null and void.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the healthcare is, but you know what they did with that?
Well, it's going back to the Supreme Court.
I heard I hadn't checked it on the details yet, but I think you mentioned it to me the other day.
It's going back on the First Amendment violation. They're requiring companies to pay for contraception and abortions, and you have churches that would be required to pay for abortions and contraceptives.
Well, that, and doesn't it, any tax law has to go through the...
Well, okay, that's the second. So there's two.
Yeah.
There's two.
Has to go through the House, right?
There's two pushes going back to the Supreme Court. One group is going back on the fact that the Senate created the health care bill, and they manipulated the Supreme Court into calling it a tax. So they're taking it back because the House has to create taxes, not the Senate. So that would nullify the bill. And then the other group is Liberty University, which is a church group, a Christian university. They're going to the Supreme Court over the First Amendment. They're saying that you can't force us to pay for abortions because that's
separation of church and state, right?
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to work, not the other way around they've been pushing.
Right.
I mean, that was the way it was designed. That's what they meant, not the way they've been taking it.
Right. Well, the First Amendment doesn't protect you. It doesn't.
It's not to keep the religion out of the government. It's supposed to keep the government out of religion.
Yeah, it's not freedom from religion.
Yeah,
it's freedom of religion. But anyway, so there's two pushes going back through, and then of course now you got all the states that are saying they're not doing the insurance.
I hope they keep going with that. The state-run insurance things, whatever they call them.
Yeah. There's a bunch of states that's announced they're not doing it. Texas being one of them, Arizona, Louisiana, Oklahoma, quite a few states actually.
Well, I still wish there was some way to fight back against these left-wing liberal nutcase TV and news outlets. I wish there was some way to fight back against them and just make them go broke or something. But I just can't. I don't know of a way to do it. I mean, I mentioned it last week or the week before, but I don't think it's all that great idea. I was talking about boycotting the people that advertise with them, but I don't think that would ever work.
No,
just not enough people care enough. And just even trying to get a movement like that started, I wouldn't even know hardly where to get started.
Right.
And since I don't think it would work, why spend the hours trying to do something you're not convinced to be any good? Maybe somebody will come up with an idea one of these days, though. Because if we could just get more of the truth out there, more real reporting instead of this slanted crap, it just they don't bother them. They don't think they'll just sit there and lie.
Yeah,
I just anything to get to get what they want, and then if they don't get what they want, they throw fits and whine and call people racist. And there was a bunch more of that today about Rice. Susan Rice or whatever it is, they're saying, saying people are prejudiced because they don't think she's qualified. So you must be prejudiced. Same crap, same tactic they used with Obama. If you didn't vote for Obama, you must be prejudiced.
Mm-hmm.
It's pitiful. Well, have you been looking at any new prepping stuff, or have you gained any ground lately? Besides your bug out truck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did finally break down and buy a food saver set up.
Yeah, I remember you got that.
Yeah.
I've used mine a lot, but I'm kind of shutting down right now because I got to find some more room. I got to finish cleaning stuff up and building some more shelves and stuff, so I got some more room.
Well, I've got a shelf unit. It's it's the wire mesh. It's actually on wheels. It's about 6 foot long, and I think it's 22 inches deep. And
well, I got plenty of room. I just have to have some cabinetry or some shelving.
Yeah, that's the shelf. I figured, I calculated it, and I can get like 600 cans on a shelf. It's got 4 shelves. Now, the bottom shelves I have 5-gallon buckets of food on, and then I got the second shelf is pretty much full of canned food.
Well, I went down and picked up the rest of, pretty much everything I need now for canning, preserving.
Right.
I think we're going to, after Christmas and holidays are calmed down, we're going to start doing that together.
Yeah.
I think we'll enjoy it. It's something we can do together. If we don't, there's not much that we do together anymore because it's just she works, I work,
Right.
And it's something that we can do together that will make me feel good about getting more prepared for things. Plus, I like that. I like when I used to go to Grandma's and then we had those preserves. They were good.
Yeah.
And it's really surprising how good some of that stuff was.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to find out what you can buy these instant mashed potatoes, and it's in a powder form.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to figure out. I haven't been able to find it yet, but if you vacuum seal that, it has a expiration date on it. But I'm wondering if you vacuum seal that, just how long that stuff would keep.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been wondering about some of that stuff that I'm just not sure about. But there's stuff in some of these packages that last a long time, but they're freeze dried. The ones I've been looking at.
Right, the freeze dried, from what I understand, lasts longer.
Mm-hmm. But the nutrition value's down.
Yeah.
Of course, you can compensate from that. You're just trying to add you don't want all your stuff like that. You want some stuff that's going to be healthier for you. That's why, you get some vitamins and rotate those out, keep a shelf full of vitamins and rotate them out. Just, some good vitamins.
A good one a day.
Yeah. That's what I've got right now. I'm still looking into some of the other stuff, but I've just been spending so much money on everything else. Plus Christmas is coming up and taxes are coming up. Of course, I think I'm okay there, but I'm not sure where I'm going to be with Obama's and the tax thing going the way they're going. I think they're going to screw us a lot more than we think they're going to.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that people realize how much more it's going to cost them for everybody, except for those that don't pay.
Right. Well, yeah, you wait till if that tax bill expires, they're talking about $2,300 per family.
Well, it's already costing us like 23 or 32, something like that. Just looking back at how much the insurance and some of the stuff that's already kicked in since they passed it. Just the fact that we had the insurance where I worked, I had to drop it because it was so shitty, and I went to my wife's company, and my wife's company had really good insurance, but it was so good that Obamacare doesn't like it. Plus it's Chase Bank, and they're on board with this crap. So the combination of both. I mean, that insurance is not anywhere near as good as it used to be, and it costs a lot more. And we sat down and figured it out. It's really hard to pinpoint it because of all the little different things in there, but we're figuring between $2,300 and $3,200 a year already.
Wow.
And that's not counting what's going to happen. And I'm scared to use the damn insurance because it's going to cost me so much to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're screwed. Any way you look at it.
Yeah, that's why, I'm not saying that the government's going to collapse completely, but I'm saying there's a chance. It could just be a freaking really bad depression we go into, which could throw things into even worse, back to that, you better be able to protect yourself kind of crap. Maybe to leave your area.
We got there's too many potential things that are on the horizon. I mean,
I think that's what's got so many people nervous.
It is.
Before Obama was elected, we were talking about people were really worried about the election. And now I'm hearing I have such an uneasy feeling about what's going to happen next. That kind of saying, they're said different ways, but it's like they're really got an uneasy feeling about what's going to happen next, how bad it's going to get.
Yeah. I mean, we're facing not only potential depression, we're also facing a potential, we're in, the food shortage is going to hit next year.
And fuel prices are going to go up and our taxes are going to go up.
You start looking at all those things, all those scenarios, you'd have to be a fool not to be prepping somewhat.
I'd love to have some gold, silver put away, but I can't afford much of that crap, and I just don't know where it'll fit in. It won't fit in at all right away, I don't think.
No, it won't.
Things went, south real bad. So I'm done. I can't afford to go out and $1,500-$1,800 an ounce right now for gold. I can't afford that. I can buy a lot of food for that.
Yeah.
And a lot of barter items in the long run might be worth more than the gold. That's why I'm stocking up on some more of that stuff too. Salt, pepper, sugar, coffee, go on down the list. There's all kinds of things.
Yeah. I've even been tempted. There's guys got a book, the 37 essential items. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I got it on the website.
You got the book?
I got a link to it. Yeah.
Oh no, you don't have the book?
No. I think Jim bought it. Let me check with him.
Yeah.
He bought that one or one similar to it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what those 37 items are.
Well, you could put your little black hat on. I bet you could find it.
Looked. I haven't found it yet.
You haven't? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't found it yet. So
there's probably a lot of stuff, we won't talk about right now, get into detail about it. There's probably a lot of stuff we could find out there.
I've been looking. I found some stuff, but I haven't found a whole lot. So, but
I can't think of. I was thinking a couple of items the other day, and I can't think of what they were. I was bored at the meeting, and my mind went wandering, and I thought a couple of things, and I couldn't write them down while I was there because I didn't have a notepad.
Yeah.
And I really, at those meetings, I don't really need a notepad. All I got to do is listen. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. It's not like a meeting where you throw ideas around. It's like, you listen to me and don't disagree with me, and when I'm done, you can go back to work. He gets in those moods sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think they're really kind of stressing out over what's going to happen because they don't know really how to handle their business right now.
Nobody does.
Of course, we're not hurting. The economy is pretty good right now, still down here, but they're really worried about what's going to happen and how they're going to handle all the new legal crap and health care and everything else, the taxes. I was sitting there, we were talking the other day, one of the guys that's on board with this. He's going, what do they got to do with a place like this if, things really get shitty? Well, it depends. If shit hits the fan and you got to haul ass, well, they won't do anything with it. But if we went into a depression, they could change the crop. We've got 60 greenhouses. You can start growing fruits and stuff and vegetables. We got, 60 acres. And they could start transforming that into growing crops and stuff there. They grow them all year long. Of course, it wouldn't, be as profitable, and they wouldn't be able to employ as many people. But they could still keep going until the taxes couldn't get paid or something. The government came in and said, "We want your land."
Right.
Of course, who's going to have money to pay their taxes then?
No, nobody. Nobody at all.
No, and I'm sitting here trying to, I do this all the time. I'm sitting there trying to reorganize my thinking on what's next. But really, I think I'm down to keep adding X amount of food every week on my budget and start collecting my stuff for my solar panels and wind generators and different projects I want to do for power. And I've been looking at these seeds, thinking that they're really way overpriced. A lot of the stuff you find out there, survival seed type situations.
Oh, yeah.
And, I don't really, from what I've found so far, and I'm not far enough into the research to really say definitively one way or the other, but I was looking through some of the wholesale places that have some of the seeds, and I figured by time you get those bulk seeds, divide them out, package them, all the different things you got to do to get them ready to ship, they might not be that overpriced because there's a lot of labor involved in sorting those things, and some of them are so small you can't really, it's just not easy.
Right.
To do. Some of the seeds you could get like a powder trickler for reloading. You just do that with a gram scale and just sit there and turn that thing until it hits the right grams. And if you know how many number of seeds go into a gram, approximately, you just, like a baker does and go a little over, which won't really cut that much into your profit as long as you don't go too far over. But I just don't know. I think some of them are charging way too much because they're finding little niches, different way to package it, different ways to market it, and they're charging too much for it because of that.
Right.
But But I don't know enough yet. I've checked out several places. I don't want to say that anybody's getting ripped off yet, and I don't want to say anybody's not getting ripped off yet. But
right. Yeah,
it's very expensive.
I've seen quite a few companies offering those.
And I was thinking if I could find a good source around here to get it, I might do a little bit of that just to make some extra money. But when I started thinking about it, I just don't have the time to sit there and market that crap and package it and mail it out all the time. And there's really not that much money in it as far as, one individual doing it that would only have a very limited market anyway. So, yeah, I want to find out the answers whether they're really getting too overpriced or not. But then it's just going to take me a little time to do a little bit more research and find a couple of the companies that I can maybe, and I do have some contacts in Louisiana, and I think can probably help me find a really good source that would really be able to figure out whether it was, overpriced or not. But I think I'll give them a call and see if they can help me find somebody that could give me that information. So I even let my wife come in the room while I'm on the show tonight. She's so happy. I don't know what else, I mean, we're just kind of on the plan forward, step by step. And these projects are trying to figure out which one to start with. I do have some of the equipment, some of the materials here now that I can get started. And luckily I got lots of wires, so I can get a lot of that done. But I was looking, I don't remember if I mentioned on the show, but, we were talking about building solar panels. And they had that one comparison where how much it costs to build one as good as you could buy one. Do you remember that? Did I lose you, Al? I think I lost Al. Yeah. Did you fall asleep, Al?
Do what?
I said, did you fall asleep?
Well, I was trying to think of something.
Well, remember we were talking about, I think you watched a video where they were comparing, I think I watched the same video, where they were comparing how much it costs to build a solar panel compared to what you can buy one for.
Right.
All right. And they were talking about, they had that like dimpled glass in it that costs a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was looking around the other day, and it occurred to me after I saw a picture that what about the glass they use on, like, in the bathroom for the showers and stuff?
Right.
That's like a good, strong safety glass, and a lot of it's dimpled, right? And some of it's clear. Some of it's, fogged, but some of it's clear.
Yeah, you'd want clear.
So I'm thinking, you go to some place like Habitat for Humanity, or, someplace that got some used stuff, or find someplace that does a lot of remodeling and tell them, hey, could use some of that glass. What kind of deal can we do?
Right.
Next time you find some, let me know, and I'll, run down here and pick it up. That might be because that's a good chunk of change right there just for the glass.
Yeah.
So that if you could knock off some there and then get the broken solar cells that are still good, they're just broken, but those tabs are still solid, which you can find that on eBay, and there's probably other places too. Then you knock about half the price or more off of the solar the cells themselves.
But what about the acrylic stuff?
And I was looking the other day, and I was looking at the acrylic because I was thinking about saving money. And the one guy that I watched, he was saying they do seem to discolor, but he couldn't see the discolor to the point where it was really hurting his output that much.
Right.
But he was even saying the stuff you use to encapsulate discolors to a certain point too. So acrylic might be the better way to go unless you can find that glass. But I'm thinking, why not try both? You know, I think the acrylic would probably, if it doesn't have any other fallbacks to it, it would probably handle being hit by hail better than, a cheaper glass. And that's one of the things you need to look at. You go tearing up one of those panels after you've spent that much time or spent that much money on it, and it gets destroyed by hail.
Right. Yeah, there was one guy on the YouTube, the guy that was into solar cooking and stuff. That's what he was making. He was using acrylic, and
I've got a sheet of it out there. I got a real good sheet of it out there.
No. You're. I'm not talking about acrylic glass. I'm talking about, and I may be calling it the wrong thing. It's a liquid.
Oh yeah, they encapsulate. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the acrylic I was talking about, like Lexan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right. When I'm talking about acrylic, I'm thinking Lexan or something like that, and you're thinking that encapsulating stuff.
Right. You just got to make sure you definitely want to make sure your solders are good before you seal it in there.
Yeah, you better test it first.
Yeah.
And that stuff's expensive too, so you better not waste it. You better kind of figure out how much it takes and not go too much thicker than that, because you're throwing away a lot of money.
Well, he was saying it was a lot cheaper than glass and a lot more durable.
Yeah, but I was thinking
and
you were putting that over and putting glass on it too. But it might have been a different video.
Yeah. No, he was saying it was lighter, more durable.
I would think it would be.
Yeah.
Because you're making the whole thing a solid piece.
Right.
And you would think hail wouldn't be able to damage that anywhere near as easily, because it'd be a little bit of flexibility. But that little bit of flexibility would absorb some of that impact, so it maybe wouldn't damage the cell that easy.
Right.
And if you don't, in the cell, if you crack the cell, it's not going to ruin it. But if you crack a solder joint, then you are.
Right. Well, I even saw, they even show you how, I've seen YouTube videos on how to even make the solar cells.
Yeah, I haven't looked into depth of that.
It's chemical. It's a chemical use. You use silicon.
Yeah, we did some stuff on that years ago back in school, but I don't really remember much of it, because it was like just a passing part of it. This is more like, this is how it works, and that's what you can do, and
if I remember, it's two different paste, and one becomes negative, the negative, one becomes the positive, and then there's I guess it's silica in between them.
Yeah, I'll have to look back into that. 'Cause
yeah.
I saw it. I've seen it a couple times, but it was when I was really looking for something else. And I find if I let myself get sidetracked on those little things, I don't come back to where I was.
Well, I know it wasn't that easy to make. I mean, it was you had to vent it real well. You got to wear a mask. When it was in its liquid state before it dried, it was.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the mask. I got plenty of those.
Yeah.
Before I forget, though, remember over at Google Plus when we did that video, Mike and I, and we tried to get you to be able to come in and do the video with us, where we're like we're doing now, but it would be video.
Right.
I would like to see if there's some way to tie it together, whether we're doing the video and doing the talk show at the same time. So if you have any ideas, I may have to pay for an extra service or something to tie them all together. But if we could do that, that would help me get some more videos up. And of course, I don't want to do every show. I don't want to do hour-long videos for every show, or hour and a half. But when we come up on a topic that we want to do, 10 or 20 or 30 minutes on or something, then we could do that. But anyway, I've been thinking about it, and I'm just not sure how to do it yet. So I figured I'd mention it to you and see if we could come up with some ideas.
think about that.
Maybe we can get together and off the show sometime and throw around some ideas and get on the computers and see if we can figure out how to work it out.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've been on for about an hour now.
Okay.
And there's really not a whole bunch of new stuff to go over tonight.
No, there's not a whole lot going on.
Kind of getting ready for Christmas and all that.
Well, I mean, we got December 21st coming up.
Oh. There sure has been a lot of doomsday shows on lately, you know, where they're looking back at the calendars and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not expecting that, but you never know. Anything can happen at any time.
Yeah, I don't see the world coming to an end, and I don't know if anything's going to happen, but it may be, it'd be interesting if the New World Order decided to use that as their strike date or something.
Yeah, there's no telling what those assholes will do. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
I don't put anything past them.
No.
I still think if they did do something, that it would come back and bite them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I saw where the Illinois governor tried to slip in a quote-unquote assault weapons ban.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it didn't make it. Their state senate got rid of it. They tried to slip it in.
Well, there's going to be a lot of people looking real close at that for the next 4 years and beyond.
Yeah.
We'll see what goes on there. I'm sure I'll start getting. I'm surprised I didn't get an email with that. Usually I get emails from people that kind of, we're all big shooters anyway, so I usually hear about what's going on with that, but I didn't hear about that one. So anyway, go ahead and call it a night, and maybe someday next week, if we get a chance, we can look at that video thing and see if there's a way to incorporate it all together.
All right.
Or if there's some other service or something. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on it, but maybe we can figure something out. Because I really need to get some more YouTube videos done. And doing the show on certain topics and do it for that, I think would work out pretty well. So I'm going to call it a night and remind y'all I've got a website called bestbugoutbagcontent.com. Go by, check it out. Let me know what you think. Leave some comments. Spend some time running through there looking around. And this is, livefreenews.com. This is Politics and Preppers podcast. Saturday night, 10 o'clock at talkshoe.com. Or you can get it on iTunes. I keep forgetting. iTunes.
Yeah.
And I checked the other day, and I don't remember what the numbers are, but we got like 100 and something subscribers.
Wow.
Through all the different ways that we promote it, there's about 100 and something there. So it's picking up, and that's not downloads. That's subscribers.
Yeah.
So anyway, I will talk to you later this week, or if we don't, I'll see you next weekend maybe on the show.
All right.
Thanks for stopping by. See y'all later. It won't stop. It's doing it again. Come on. I hate when it does that. I didn't even remember starting the show, but I know I did because it says it right there.
Yeah. I don't know if I heard it say I don't remember hearing the little intro thing.
Yeah, and I don't remember. But it says the recording has started, so hopefully. No, I can't stop the dang thing. Come on. I guess when they start listening, they're just going to have to listen to it till they decide it. Maybe there's no more of the show. Well, they should get the idea when I said it won't stop.
Yeah. Is that through Skype or?
Yeah. Well, I'm in there, so it says Let Singer is logged in, Let Singer is called in. So, and I know I've got control because I can change the allow participation and stuff or not allow, so I do have that. And block, I got that. That's working. So I am logged in. I wish I would have had more interesting stuff tonight, talking show, but I didn't get all the research done that I wanted to get done. I didn't find the answer to some of it I wanted to get done.
Yeah.
And until I start some of these projects, I really don't have a whole bunch there. Well, come on. Let me go over here and let's see, report a concern. Tell it won't shut down. Concern other. Let's see here. You know, you'd think I'd remember the shawl code number 120315. 120315. That's the call. This is like the third time it's done this. Last time it only took about 15 minutes for it to finally shut down, but the one before that was like 45 minutes.
Wow. I'm going to hang up. Maybe that'll help.
All right.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All righty. Take it easy. Bye.